Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Ganavara Girivara. Jaya Gopi Ganavara Girivara. Yashodanandana Vajajanaranga. Yashodanandana Vajajanaranga. Yamurati Avanachari. Yamunatira Avanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Jai. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 47, verses 4 to 6. Janimastvam yadupate parshadam samupagatam bhartreha preshita pritrur bhavan priya chikirshaya. Janimastvam yadupate parshadam samupagatam bhartreha preshita pitrur bhavan priya chikirshaya. Synonyms, you can repeat after me. I'll say and then you say. Janima, we know. Tvam, you. Yadupate, of the chief of the Yadus. Parshadham, the personal associate. Samupagatam, arrived here. Bartra, by your master. Iha, here. Prasita, sent. Petro of his parents, Bhavhan, your good self, Priya, satisfaction, Chikir Shaya, wanting to give. Translation. The gopis said, so they're speaking to Uddhava, isn't it? Uddhava has come to Vrindavan, as everyone who's been listening to the classes is aware. And he's now come to the gopis. And the gopis are now speaking to him. We know that you are the personal servant of Krishna, the chief of the Yadus, and that you have come here on the order of your good master, who desires to give pleasure to his parents. Text 5. Anyata go raje tasya smaraniyam chachakshmahe snehanu bandhu bandhunam muner api sudhistyaja. Jai Pushpabu Ki Jai. Please accept my humble obeisances. Translation. We see nothing else he might consider worth remembering in these cow pastures of Raja. Indeed, the bonds of affection for one's family members are difficult to break, even for a sage. Text 6. Anyeshata krita maitri yavad arta vidhambhanam pumbis trishu krita yadvat sumhanash eva satpadhai. Translation. The friendship shown towards others, those who are not family members, is motivated by personal interest, and thus it is a pretense that lasts only until one's purpose is fulfilled. Such friendship is just like the interest men take in women or bees in flowers. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains here that attractive women, like flowers, possess beauty, fragrance, tenderness, charm, and so on. And as bees drink only once of a flower's nectar and then leave it for another, fickle men abandon beautiful and devoted women to pursue other pleasures. This tendency is condemned here by the gopis, who gave their hearts completely to Sri Krishna. The gopis wanted only to exhibit their charms for Lord Krishna's pleasure, and in the pain of separation, they questioned the motives of his friendship with them. These are the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. Both Lord Krishna and the gopis are completely liberated souls, engaged in spiritual loving affairs. By contrast, our so-called loving affairs, being perverted reflections of the perfect loving relationship in the spiritual world, are polluted with lust, greed, pride, and so on. Like all liberated souls, the gopis, and certainly Lord Krishna himself, are eternally free of these lower qualities, and their intense loving affairs are motivated exclusively by unalloyed devotion. You can join me in praying. Om Agyana Timirandasya Jananjana Chalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jaina Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Garamayam Dadadi Swaparandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shira Parakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vidam Tam Sajivam Sarvaitam Savurutam Harijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vidamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sure Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpataru Vista Vipasandu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Paraya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamine Dinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shrivad Ashtatara Kshatarya, Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadara, Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you all again for being here. I seek the blessings of all the devotees to speak according to Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, for all of us to come closer to pure devotional service and my own purification, especially Adi Purish Prabhu, Vasudev Prabhu, Gopal Krishna Prabhu, and all the other senior devotees on the call. So I want to also read this section from Krishna book because Prabhupada elaborates more actually on this section. So I'll read just right before. Actually, I changed my mind. I'm going to read from the beginning because then you'll see exactly what's happening here. When the gopis saw Uddhava, right, who was approaching them, they in Vrindavan, they observed that his features almost exactly resembled those of Krishna, and they could understand that he was a great devotee of Krishna's. His arms were very long and his eyes were just like the petals of the lotus flower. He was dressed in yellow garments and wore a garland of lotus flowers. His face was very beautiful. Having achieved the liberation of Sarupya, and thus having the same bodily features as the Lord, Uddhava looked almost like Krishna. In Krishna's absence, the gopis had been coming dutifully to visit Mother Yashoda's house early in the morning. They knew that Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda were always grief-stricken, and they had made it their first duty to come and pay their respects to the most exalted elderly personalities of Vrindavan. Seeing the friends of Krishna, Nanda and Yashoda would remember Krishna himself and be satisfied, and the gopis also would be pleased by seeing Nanda and Yashoda. When the gopis saw that Uddhava was representing Krishna, even in his bodily features, they thought he must be a soul completely surrendered unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So they began to contemplate, who is this boy who looks just like Krishna? He has the same eyes like lotus petals, the same raised nose and beautiful face, and he is smiling in the same way. In all respects, he resembles Krishna, Shamasundar, the beautiful blackish boy. He is even dressed exactly like Krishna. Where has this boy come from? Who is the fortunate girl who has him for her husband? Thus, they talked among themselves. They were very anxious to know about him, and because they were simple, unsophisticated village girls, they surrounded Uddhava. And then, when the gopis understood that Uddhava had a message from Krishna, they became very happy and called him to a secluded place and offered him a nice sitting place. They wanted to talk with him very freely and did not want to be embarrassed before unknown persons. So they wanted that privacy of being able to hear from him without restriction what Krishna's message is. And they were super happy and excited to hear the message from Krishna. They welcomed him with polite words and great submissiveness. And then this is what they said. We know that you are a most confidential associate of Krishna, and he has therefore sent you to Vrindavan to give solace to his father and mother. So these are today's verses. We can understand that family affection is very strong. Even great sages who have taken to the renounced order of life cannot give up family affection cent per cent. You know, sometimes they think of their family members. And aside from the Krishna book for even just a minute, I mean, we can think of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya took sannyas, yet he still had affection for his mother. And he actually wanted to go to Vrindavan, but his mother said, no, don't go to Vrindavan, because if you go to Vrindavan, you'll be so far. You know, it's not like they had, Instagram those days. or even phone calls. You'll be so far that I won't get news of you. So at least go to Jagannath Puri. It's close to here. I can get news of you. We can still have some relationship. And Jagannath Puri is non-different from Vrindavan. So to please his mother, he went to Jagannath Puri. And we see this with many sannyasis in our movement. They've taken to the renounced order of life, yet they still have relationships with their parents. So, yes, sometimes they think of their family members. Krishna has therefore sent you to his father and mother, otherwise he has no further business in Vrindavan. Now, this is when the gopis are going to start to, like, they're saying, okay, yeah, obviously, he sent you to Vrindavan to think of his family members. But then they're gonna get to in these later verses, like the contrast, because technically they're not his family members, right? The gopis, they're putting them in the category themselves in the category of friends. So they're basically gonna, basically be like blaming Krishna, like, but he doesn't care about us. That's basically what they're going to be saying. So, otherwise, he has no further business in Vrindavan. He is now in town. What does he have to know about Vrindavan village or the cows' pasturing grounds? Basically they're saying, yeah, he used to be a cowherd boy, but now he's a big city boy. He's in the town. Like, what does he care anymore about, like, the cows and his pasturing grounds, even though his whole life growing up was taking care of the calves and the cows and caring about the pasturing grounds. But now that he's, in the city and the town, like, he doesn't care anymore. These are not at all useful for Krishna because he is now a man of the city. Surely he has nothing to do with persons who do not happen to be his family members. Friendships with those outside the family continue as long as there is some selfish interest in them. Otherwise, why should one bother about those outside the family? Specifically, a person attached to the wives of others is interested in them as long as there is a need of sense gratification, just as the bumblebees have interest in flowers as long as they want to take the honey out of them. It is psychologically very natural that a prostitute does not care for her paramour as soon as he loses money. Similarly, when the citizens find that a government is incapable of giving them full protection, they leave the country. A student, after finishing his education, gives up his relationship with the teacher and the school. A priest, after taking his reward from the worshiper, gives him up. Vasudev is not like that. When the fruit season is over, and the devotees of Krishna are not like that. These are like, they're talking about mundane priests, not Krishna conscious devotees. When the fruit season is over, birds are no longer interested in the tree. Just after eating in the house of a host, the guest gives up his relationship with him. After a forest fire, when there is a scarcity of green grass, deer and other animals give up the forest. And so a man, after enjoying his girlfriend, gives up his connection with her. In this way, all the gopis indirectly accuse Krishna by citing many examples. Uddhava understood that the gopis of Vrindavan were all simply absorbed in the thought of Krishna and his childhood activities. While talking about Krishna with Uddhava, they forgot all about their household business. They even forgot about themselves as their interest in Krishna increased more and more. So the gopis are so happy there is a message from Krishna. There's this, like, imagine there's all these combinations of emotions that they're feeling. They're feeling so happy. There's a message from Krishna. They can't wait to get this message. They're like, who is this Uddhava? Obviously, he's very, very confidential associate of Krishna. He looks like Krishna. So that's increasing their remembrance of Krishna even more. But then at the same time, they're in so much separation from Krishna. They're in so much anguish in their separation from Krishna that they're experiencing all these different emotions. And, we understand from the highest transcendental platform that, and we'll get more into this in a minute, but actually, being in separation from Krishna is actually just increasing their transcendental, pure, unalloyed love for Krishna. and their ecstasy, but they're expressing, like chastising Krishna and feelings of anger for Krishna for leaving them. And a combination of hope that Uddhava has come with some message, and also hopelessness. Krishna's now in town, and just like we see in this mundane world, it's like you see like the person who's from the small town, they move to the city, they become absorbed in the city, and they forget about their small town. It's kind of like they're like, Krishna's just forgot about us. And they're saying he's come to give solace to his parents because people don't forget their family members. But there's nothing else that he needs to know about in Vrindavan. And in contrast, he doesn't have anything to do with the people who are not his family members, aka them. And they give all these examples and are accusing Krishna of doing this. And what they're saying is very much true in terms of material life. In material life, what they're saying, when people are in material consciousness, this is very true. We just actually had Christmas, and like people, they're obliged to, whether they like it or not, I'm very grateful. I love going home to see my family. I'm very fortunate. I have a wonderful family, but not everybody feels that way. Some people are excited to go home. Other people, it's like, I don't want to go home. I don't want to see my family, but they're still very obliged. Like they don't forget their family members. Of course, as Kali Yuga degrades even more and more, some people also do reject their family members for various different reasons. And the family also breaks apart. But generally, there's at least some duty, right? Of like, I have some duty to show up for my family and not forget my family. But when it comes to friends, it's like, oh, I have a choice. I have a choice who I want to be friends with. And, if I still like these people, if we still have the same interests, if I still get some satisfaction from my relationship with them, I'm going to see them. But if that's not there anymore, then I'm not going to reach out to them. I'm not going to see them. And so a lot of people lose touch actually with like their childhood friends. And the gopis are saying in these material examples that mundane relationships are based off of what can this person give for me? They give these horrible examples, of a man enjoying his girlfriend physically and then giving her up. Like, okay, like I've gotten what I've wanted from you. Now I'm leaving. And we see this in material life. It's so sad. This is why there's so much, if people even get married, there's so much divorce, but so many people don't even get married. It's just like, how can this person fulfill my desires? And I'm in love with this person. And then when this person's no longer fulfilling my desires, I reject this person. So the gopis, they're accusing Krishna of being like this. But we must understand that this is all coming from transcendental love. And the gopis and Krishna's relationship is not at all mundane. It is fully transcendental. The gopis are completely absorbed in Krishna and they forget themselves. They're saying all these things ultimately because they love Krishna and they know Krishna is actually happier in Vrindavan with them. They are actually not, they're just thinking of serving Krishna and making Krishna happy. They're actually not thinking of themselves. And it's not like they're wanting sense gratification from Krishna. They're wanting to serve Krishna. There is no lust in their relationship. It is pure love. They gave up everything, isn't it? When Krishna called them for the rasa dance, they left their families, their husbands, their babies, their everything to just, they were risking not having any place to go back to. They left everything for Krishna. And their whole lives are wanting to serve Krishna. The classic example is when Krishna had a headache And he said that the dust of the feet of a devotee would cure his headache. And so Narada Muni went to all these different devotees saying, can you please give the dust to cure Krishna's headache? And everyone's saying, I can't do that. If I give the dust from my feet to Krishna for his head, I'm going to go to hell forever. I'm not going to go to hell. But the gopis, they didn't even care if they would go to hell. They were like, Krishna has a headache, immediately we'll give the dust from our feet. And Narada Muni said, don't you know what this means? They're like, of course, we're going to go to hell, but it doesn't matter if it relieves Krishna of his headache for just 1 minute. Perfection of our lives, we're happy to go to hell. This is their consciousness. This is who they are. And the gopis are the best of devotees. You know, they felt like Krishna had abandoned them. But what is important to understand is that Krishna never abandoned them. He was actually only increasing their love for him and the remembrance and the absorption that they had in him. So, you know, it's a very high level and difficult to understand, but everything that Krishna was doing was actually out of his love for them and actually what was best for them. And sometimes we as devotees, we might feel that Krishna has abandoned us. Maybe something happens in our life that we can't understand. And someone might think, why is this happening to me? Mm-hmm. But we can know, just as Krishna had not abandoned the gopis, had not abandoned the devotees in Vrindavan. And actually, we understand that Krishna, he actually never leaves Vrindavan. He actually was still in Vrindavan during this time, but it's so many levels, so many layers that in one sense, the devotees, they were not aware of that. You know, they really, really experienced Krishna is not here. But Krishna never abandoned them. And similarly, we must know that Krishna also has not abandoned us. And he loves us. And whatever he is orchestrating in our lives is what is best for us and is an opportunity for us to increase our love for him and absorption in him. Of course, he gives us free will. The devotees of Vrindavan, of course, it increased their affection and love for him because they're pure devotees. But we have a choice because we're not on that level. If something happens to us, we can either use that as an excuse to become less Krishna conscious and have a negative attitude. You know, oh, Krishna has abandoned me, therefore I'll abandon him. Forget him. You know, let me go, do my own thing or find something else that works or put my faith in someone else or, at least chill out a little bit, have some fun. Or we can take it as an opportunity. This is Krishna's mercy. This is a beautiful, amazing opportunity for me to worship him and love him and serve him and become more absorbed in him. And what does it say in the Srimad Bhagavatam? Tatenu kampam sushamikshama. When we do that from Lord Brahma's prayers in the 14th chapter, when we continue to offer loving obeisances to the Lord, even when in difficult circumstances, then we become a rightful candidate for liberation. That is our ticket back home, back to Godhead. And a pure devotee doesn't even desire liberation. But we can take this verse as devotees, that if we do this, that is our ticket to inspiring Krishna to give us his full mercy, to give us pure devotional service, which is our goal. We, however, in our lives should never behave like these material examples they are giving, and should not use people, but should serve people. Again, this is the difference between material and spiritual relationships. So what does it mean to be a spiritual community? You know, it's explained in scriptures that the mentality of a kanishta, or beginning devotee in Krishna consciousness, which is still very good, better to be a kanishta devotee than to be not a devotee. But their mentality is, I come to the temple, I see the deity, and my relationship is me and the deity, me and Krishna. But as one advances to the Madhyama platform, they begin to understand that Krishna consciousness is just not me and Krishna. That's not what pleases Krishna. Krishna says, one who is my devotee is not really my devotee, but one who is the devotee of my devotee is my devotee. And Krishna also says that one who preaches this message of the Bhagavad Gita to my devotees is most dear to me. So what pleases Krishna? It pleases Krishna to not just come to the temple and see the deity, even though we should also do that, but to see each and every devotee as this person is a devotee of Krishna, this person is dear to Krishna, and I can please Krishna by the way I serve this person. So the Majjhima Adhikari, they do make distinctions. They serve the devotees, and they give Krishna consciousness to the innocent, and they avoid the inimical to protect themselves. The highest level of a devotee, they don't even see distinctions. They see, actually, everyone is a devotee and everyone is better than me, and they want to serve everyone. This is actually the highest consciousness. Now, the highest devotees, they need to come down to the Majjhima platform in order to be able to discriminate in preaching. But we can understand that they're making that conscious choice to see that in order to be able to, move in the world spreading Krishna consciousness. So that's what Prabhupada did. So we have to really constantly be looking at our hearts as we interact with those around us, in both our, our very close relationships, and also just in our everyday interactions with people. Are we in this mood of taking? What can I get from this person? Or are we in the mood of giving? What can I give to this person? And, that is a good way of following in the footsteps of the gopis, the highest devotees. We want to simultaneously, through our japa, through our kirtan, through our deity worship, through our study of scripture, absorb ourselves in Krishna's pastimes and develop our love for Krishna. And simultaneously, we can't chant the holy name if we don't cultivate the mood of Trinada Pisunichena, Torora Pisahishtina, Amanina, Amanadena, Kirtaniya, Sadahari, that we have to become more humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree, eager to offer respect to others and not demand any respect ourselves. So that is the mood of the gopis. And we can't chant unless we're in our lives and in our hearts actually cultivating this mood in our consciousness and in our actions. And even if we don't feel the consciousness, when we choose to do the proper action, the proper consciousness develops. And simultaneously, when we cultivate the proper consciousness, the proper action follows. So we have to very, very, very much take this very, very seriously. Humility and service attitude is essential for bhakti. I actually, the last time I had darshan with Radhana Swami, I was just asking him how to go deeper, actually. And he was saying many things. But one thing he said is that prayers without humility are actually meaningless. That we have to be sincere and we have to be humble. And then Krishna hears our prayers. And then he said to me, you already know everything. You just have to do it. And that was very humbling. Of like, we hear all of the scriptures. We understand the philosophy, but we have to apply it. We have to walk our talk. We have to live the truth. So, yeah, thank you very much. It's 7:50, so we have 10 minutes left. We can open it up for discussion, comments, corrections, all of those things.
Thank you, Champakalata. Wonderful class. It's time for questions and reflections and all of those things, dear devotees. I have a question, Champakalata, Devi. When you were describing so wonderfully how Krishna never abandons us, even we may think that, oh, Krishna has abandoned me, so therefore I'm allowed to go out there and have some fun. But sometimes we may feel like we have abandoned Krishna. Krishna, I'm willingly making this choice to abandon you and go for this material thing. And in that case, does Krishna abandon us? Does Krishna give us freedom to enjoy materially? Does he give up on us ever when we give up on him?
Yeah, the fact is we have abandoned Krishna. The fact is we have turned away from Krishna. The fact is that we consciously wanted to enjoy separately from Krishna. But Krishna does not abandon us, even when we make that decision. He, because of his love for us, he gives us free will, and he does not force our love. You know, he doesn't give us some love pill to make us love him. He says, you have a choice whether or not you want to engage in loving devotional service. So, okay, you're making that choice. You want to enjoy separately from me. Therefore, I will have this entire create this entire material world for you as your little playground to, you know, think that you're enjoying and to engage with the material energy, trying to be the controller. And I will give you your free will. However, you will come under the energy of Maya, and you will be responsible. You will be under the laws of material nature, and you will be responsible for your karma, and you'll get those reactions. But all of that, even the Maya and even the karma and everything, is all orchestrated in such a way to ultimately wake us up to realize that I'm not happy here. I'm a fish out of the water. I am suffering. All of my material schemes do not bring me happiness. And something is wrong here. And I have to seek out the truth and ultimately find Krishna and surrender to Krishna and go back to him. So the whole material world is only really made for that purpose. So Krishna gives us free will, but even though he gives us free will, he doesn't abandon us. He's the super soul in our heart, and he's in our heart at all times, in all of the millions and millions of lifetimes that we've taken in different bodies, species of life. And he has been there waiting for us, like the two birds in the tree. One bird is just watching the other bird eat the fruits, waiting. When is this bird going to figure it out and turn towards me? And not only does he do that, but he sends his representatives, the pure devotees. He sends the scriptures, he sends his devotees as instruments to get us back, to give us the knowledge that we need to turn to him. And he also personally comes himself in many different incarnations, and as his original self, Krishna and Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya comes to teach us how to be a devotee in the mood of Radharani and to give us the Sankirtan movement. And he's here right now in his holy name. His holy name is none different than him. He is the incarnation in this age. And if we pay attention to the holy name when we chant, the holy name will reveal himself to us. So he's with us if we just choose to chant Hare Krishna. Even if we don't choose to chant Hare Krishna, he's in our hearts. But we should choose to chant Hare Krishna, and then he can be on our tongues. Does that answer your question?
Yes, perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Champakalata Devi. See, but Bhima Prabhu just wants the love pill. He doesn't want to be responsible and bound by laws of nature. He just wants a love pill.
Yeah, I've also thought like that before. Like, why doesn't Krishna just force me, to love him? But that's our disease. We don't want responsibility. That's the material disease. Oh, just make it easy for me. Give me the drug. Like think about people in like healthcare. Oh, just give me the pill. I don't want to exercise. I don't want to eat well. I don't want to think well. I don't want to take responsibility for my health. Just give me the drug. What is that? Like that consciousness is we have to take responsibility. It's not cheap, it's not cheap. We made that decision. We have to take responsibility for that decision that we made, and we have to rectify ourselves. And it's not cheap. It's not like, oh, Krishna, I have abandoned you and turned away from you for millions and millions of lifetimes. Just give me a pill right now, this very moment, to make it all better. Like, actually, it almost is like that, because Prabhupada is so merciful and Lord Chaitanya is so merciful that all we have to do is chant Hare Krishna and follow the 4 regulative principles. It's actually very easy compared to in past ages. We don't have to meditate for thousands of years or do super elaborate sacrifices or super elaborate deity worship that, isn't possible in this age. It is actually quite easy. It's simple for the simple, but it's complicated for the complicated. It is actually easy. We just make it complicated and difficult because of our conditioned mind. Wake up, oh, the mind, I don't want to do my japa. I just want to, whatever people's minds think, but that's just our conditioned mind. We just have to do it, and it works.
We just have to do it, and it works. We live to be corrected.
Yeah, like I know for me, like if I, because my mind does all the things, if I'm feeling like, oh, I'm not feeling inspired or enthusiastic, or I don't have taste for chanting the names, or blah blah blah, I know, like, that doesn't mean that there's something wrong with the process. That means that I'm not working the process. I'm doing something wrong. I'm making some offenses. I'm not chanting attentively. I'm not doing what I need to be doing. It's not, we have this victim mentality. Other people did it to me. My past is because, my mom was mean to me when I was growing up, and that's why I'm so bitter. like we like to blame other people for our issues. But that's childish mentality. We have to look at ourselves and say, do I want to continue to be a victim, or do I want to take ownership of my life, and my choices, and 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 choose what I want to create for my future, right? Because our choices create our destiny. So what choice do I want to make now?
It's very, very nice point you made. I remember Kaustuba Prabhu was explaining how it's important to acknowledge the abuse that may have happened. It's all real, it all hurts. But then if we're holding on to it, then the abuse basically continues.
Yeah. It's like it is true, like, we're not saying that if someone has received abuse or gone through trauma, that that should just be ignored. You have to recognize that. But if you don't forgive someone, that's not hurting them, that's just hurting you. You're just carrying it for your life. Like, I remember once I heard this story of one person goes through a super bad divorce, hates their life, and 40 years later is sick and miserable, and they blame what happened to them 40 years earlier. Or another person goes through the same thing and decides to be positive, gets remarried, gets a new job, has a happy life, and is like, oh, that's actually the best thing that happened to me, that divorce. So it's a matter of our mentality.
Okay, it's darshan time. Thank you for turning on your cameras. You can. Here we got bowed down to Radha Muralidhar. That's what Krishna does. He bows us down. We may be proud, we may have plans, but Krishna will bow us down. Lovingly, lovingly, lovingly. Okay. Life is what you make of it, dear devotees. Life is what we make of it. We may have gone through stuff. It's all real. Let's all be there for each other when that happens. At the same time, we should move on and think positively and see Krishna's loving hand, Krishna's lotus feet in everything that happens to us by Krishna's grace. We live to be corrected, and sometimes that may be a little bit painful, maybe painful a lot. I remember my own painful experiences, and it just basically what got me to start searching for Krishna actively. If not for that, I would have been in the gutter. I still am in the gutter, but I'm reaching out to the Lord from my gutter. I'd like to thank you for participating in this class, and we invite you to come again tomorrow. There's more nectar coming our way. Would anyone like to say anything? It's a very sensitive subject. If you have any realizations, please share. Damodar Priya.
Hare Krishna, good morning. I think that it's a really delicate balance of us empowering people to make choices that are healthy for them, and at the same time giving people the space and the resources so that they can heal themselves. So understanding that everybody grieves and heals at different paces. So somebody who's gone through a divorce or somebody who's gone through a traumatic life experience, somebody might be able to get over it in a year on their own, and somebody else might need 10 years of cognitive therapy, and that's okay. And again, the thing that really we as the people who are supporting those who are going through is to not be judgmental, and instead to be supportive, as you're saying, and to just understand. And if whenever possible, we have Karuna Care, which we brought up multiple times, right? So if you want to, if you have people around you who are suffering and they're devotees, there's Karuna Care, there's resources and things available so that you can support them on that. And it's also very important for us to not push people to like kind of spiritual bypass, right? To not do the work to improve themselves and just tell them, no, don't worry, just be positive, just it'll work itself out, because then the people are just doing it in a way that's not genuine and sincere. And then it's just like how they say, like, don't do diets, like do an actual lifestyle change. So it's the same thing mentally, right? You don't want to just have a mental diet that you fake your way through it and then you drop it in a week. You want to actually do a lifestyle change, and for that you need support and maybe work with professionals and devotees who know how to care for you. So that's my own little caveat.
Thank you, Damodar Priya. Yeah, it's a balance. It's always about balance. We're not just bypassing things, but we shouldn't be shy to share with people how Krishna is real and bhakti works. We never know how they may respond. When I was told that all my, traumas and difficulties, it's not even me, I felt relieved. I felt great. I said, yes, I've been waiting for someone to tell me boldly. But for some people, it may not be the best words, but we shouldn't be shy. We should always strive for this balance. We should be loving, compassionate, and we should bring bhakti. Right? Bhima Prabhu, I would like to offer some cognitive therapy. I need that.
If I have any cognition at all. I think that the big thing, which is really wild, I mentioned, just give me the love pill. And it is that easy. Of course, Prabhuji said, and Prabhupada said, of course, just chant 16 rounds and follow the 4 regulative principles. Seems like such an easy recipe, but boy, what a meal it makes if you do just those things. As we go along in life, when we're young and full of fervor and enthusiasm, it seems like such a simple fix. But when we go along in life, to stay steady on that path, to make Krishna the priority, to show Krishna by our chanting, by our putting him first priority, then he puts you first. And following the four regulative principles, of course, when we say things like no gambling never was a problem, but every moment we waste in life engaging in some frivolity is a form of gambling, because Lord knows we've all, most of us, if not all of us, have been to that point where, we've had very serious things happen to us or very close to us, and it very much sobers us up to our frivolities or taking things cheaply, as if we were to die tomorrow. How would we be acting? I can't remember who said it. I'm sure it's been said by a lot of folk that we should act in Krishna consciousness as if we were to die tomorrow. What would we do? And when I've myself run through that priority list, what would I do? It's more often than not a lot of the things that I am not doing now, and a lot of the things that Prabhupada would have us do to make that rapid advancement in Krishna consciousness. One last thing I'd like to say, that there's no quicker love pill than forgiveness. And forgiveness is actually not a process. It is as easy as laying down a weight on your back. It really is. We have all gone through stuff. I myself as well. And if you just lay it down, just put it down and walk. Now, you never forget, of course, but forgiving is you just don't hold it anymore. And it is as easy as letting go. It's not a process. You don't need somebody to sit across from you to nod, yes, 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 or, and pay, it really is just let it go. It's what the Buddha says, just let it go. And when we do, all of a sudden we are made light. And then, of course, as Christ said, and Krishna as well, those who forgive shall be forgiven. So we often talk about our past misdeeds, all the things that we don't even know that we've done in past lives. All those things drop away as quickly as we let any so-called offense or so-called uh, um, bad behavior towards us. If we let those things go like water off a duck's back, then Krishna will also relieve us of our, past misbehavior. So, anyways, I'd just like to say that. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Bhima Prabhu. It reminded me of my favorite bathroom analogy. How do you let things go? There's a proper outlet for that. You go in there, you close the door, there's a pipe. You don't do it just randomly anywhere. It's a process. There has to be equipment for that.
I'm always offended by your analogies, Anandabi. It's like a bad song that sticks in your head all day long that you can't get the tune out of your head.
Yeah, that's because something happened to me in my childhood. That's why I have this twist. Anyways, we love you, dear devotees. Before we go any further with this, we'd like to end this on this high note and wish everybody a wonderful, fulfilling lifetime of devotional service, devotees association. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. We love you. Hare Krishna. Goodbye.